Thank you, Elsie. Hi, my name is Elyse Kirby. I have been with STR for over 12 years now, and I see a lot of familiar faces popping in, or names rather, in the webinar. So thank you for joining. If you are familiar with STR data, hopefully you've already seen how that is reflected in CoStar, but that's kind of what I'm going to be showing you today. We all know change is hard, but I, for one, am super excited to see STR data taken to the next level, and the CoStar platform allows for just that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I do not have a presentation deck planned for you today. Everything is going to be live in the demo, so fingers crossed technology cooperates and lets us do so. But again, hopefully you've already seen CoStar. If not, and this is your first look, then welcome. You do have access to a little bit of everything, but today we're going to focus just on hospitality. So this is the homepage. As you log in, everything is tailored to you based on your profile. I'm going to cover two different areas today. I'm going to go into the market. This is where you're going to see all of the performance data, the occupancy, the ADR, RevPAR, understand how things have been growing or declining. And then we'll also touch towards the end on the properties database. So again, if you're familiar with STR, we track the full life cycle of the property, not just what's there, but also everything in the pipeline up until its opening date. So that's where you're going to find that information over here in properties. So let's go ahead and dive into the market section. Let's start with a little bit of an analysis. Now, I, for one, am a visual person. I know some of you on here probably prefer your spreadsheets. CoStar allows you to do both. So whether you want to see the numbers outright in an Excel tabular style, or whether you want to see some charts and graphs, you have that ability in here, and I'll kind of show you a little bit of both. So here you're seeing 230 markets. So what's in here today is data for the US, the UK, and Canada on a monthly basis. Now you'll notice this is for hospitality. Again, you would have access to everything else, but we're focusing solely on hospitality. So let's back out a little bit and look at country level data first. We want to see how the total US is doing and get the lay of the land. So we're going to go ahead and click straight into the United States. So up here we have what I like to call our hero stats. A really quick look at what the 12-month moving KPIs are doing, and we can see that we are up. So I also say if you want to see more data in CoStar, just hover. So quickly we can hover over occupancy, and we can see that we're up from the same time a year ago. So on the 12-month moving, we're up 2.65%. The ADR is also up 7.48%. And then RevPAR is up as well, 10.33%. So all of our KPIs on a 12-month moving for the total US are up. Now, as this page loads, we're going to see quite a bit of additional information here. Quick look at inventory. We're going to give you the nation as well as that year-over-year percent change. So we start to see that delivered rooms coming into existence, are a little bit down year-over-year. As far as that 12-month moving delivered rooms, here's your delivered buildings. We can take a look at existing, though, as well, and see that a year ago we were at 64,290, and today we're at 64,614. So up slightly in existing. Under construction is down a bit. So again, with everything going on with interest rates, we have seen a slight dip in the pipeline. Sales transactions as well. So again, the debt happening in the pipe is causing that pipeline to slow. And then same situation with transactions, little deal appetite is being lost there. Looking over here on the right side, we have performance, and we're going to give you the current month, running 3-month, year-to-date, and a 12-month moving. So looking at the nation versus that year-over-year percent change. On a 12-month basis, we're doing pretty good. Everything's still up and positive. In the most recent month and even running 3, we're starting to see that slight dip in occupancy caused by that demand decline. So there's a lot of data in here, and some things I'm going to scroll past a little quicker than others. But again, I think this top summary page kind of helps us understand what's going on. Pipeline slowing, transactions are slowing, and that demand decline is affecting our occupancy, but ultimately still doing well for the 12-month moving. You're going to see written analysis for the total U.S. and all the top markets as well, just kind of what's going on in verbiage, not just charts and graphs. So all of these are going to be your pre-built charts and graphs. If you want to see the data behind them, you can always click this button here and get the actual metrics behind the numbers. So we're going to look at supply, demand, occupancy. I'll show you a few of my favorite charts here. I love to look at the monthly numbers. So here we can kind of see month over month, occupancy was growing versus the same month last year. And then that kind of started dipping here in April, which is where those numbers are starting to shake out in our overall performance. ADR, however, still growing. So month over month, less as we've moved on throughout the year, but that you'll see that light blue bar is still ahead of that 2022 bar. So month over month, we still have been growing on an annual basis from the same month last year. And that's allowing us for some RevPAR growth here as well. So it looks like just over $1.50 here in August. So this is a look at the total U.S. If you wanted to break down by class or scale, you can absolutely do that. The benefit of having all of this data loaded in the platform is if you want to query something else, or you just want to look at, those middle tier hotels, you can click these buttons and all of your KPIs are updated in an instant. However, we are going to have some pre-built charts and graphs for you here. So when we look at occupancy, okay, what are the fullest hotels versus what's dragging the U.S. down? And it looks like upscale and upper mid-scale hotels are the fullest. So 67.3%, where we can see that total U.S. number is at 63%. Mid-scale and economy way down here at 56.5%. You can see that changed right around here in the summer of 2021. As we all know, during the pandemic, a lot of those mid-scale and economy hotels were used for workers, but that kind of changed right here in the August of 2021. And ever since, the upscale and upper mid-scale hotels have been the most full, most heads and beds. Here we see our average daily rate, consistently led by the luxury and upper upscale hotels, no surprise there, and RevPAR. So because of those massive ADRs, luxury and upper upscale hotels are still reaping the most reward in RevPAR. So here we've got a quick look at the month over month, year over year. So August 2022, really strong ADR, really strong occupancy, and therefore a really high RevPAR. We see that start to settle off a little bit in this August. Still an ADR-driven recovery, but just a little less so. So leaving our RevPAR at 10.3%. Anything past this bar, you're going to see a forecast. So for the U.S. by class scale, and for the top 25 markets, it's the same forecast that STR produces with tourism economics. So as we start to scroll, we're going to get into our construction. So we track, again, the full life cycle of the hotel. You'll notice deliveries and demolitions, rooms delivered, again, just kind of less and less new rooms coming in as that pipeline starts to slow. Rooms delivered by class, we can see that pretty consistently it's that upscale and upper mid-scale there in the blue that have the most hotels coming into supply. And then we have your October month to date. So again, another benefit of the data being in CoStar is on the back end, as our research team and our hotel participants submit that data to us, we're able to update it on the back end, and then all of these charts and graphs are updated in real time. Rooms under construction as well. So as I hover, I can see September 2023 versus October 2023 month to date. Total rooms under construction by scale. So it looks like over 50% of the rooms under construction are between that upper mid-scale and upscale. So staying in line with our past patterns, that's where all the under construction rooms are being held. And then we can kind of see that here as well. Rooms under construction by scale, as well as the unaffiliated. So before a hotel has a brand or a flag tied to it, we mark that as unaffiliated. It may be independent, but it may have a flag as it goes through that pipeline. So CoStar also tracks sales transactions, economic data, CMBS loans across the U.S. So roughly 4,000 hotels across the U.S. submit, we are able to track those commercial mortgage-backed security loans. That allows us to roll up those aggregates for P&L as well. Major players in the industry, so top brands delivered over the past 5 years. Also, we track buyers, sellers, and top buyer brokers. So lots of charts and graphs. Again, any that you want to see the data behind, you can pop out. I'll show you a quick example of that. Scroll back up here for a moment to performance. So let's say we wanted to look at this occupancy. I could click this open here. And again, if you don't like my charts and graphs, you can click over to the raw data there. So if you just liked that raw data look, you're going to see this data tab, and it's going to contain all the historical data up to the current month process, as well as a forecast. So again, you'll see April of 2024 here. So that's our forecast, anything by this bar. And as I scroll down, you'll notice this data is available for you back to 1987 when STR began tracking data. This is constantly updated. So if you bought a trend back in 2002, these numbers are going to look different than what you ordered in 2002 because we've consistently grown our data collection. And so you can see those numbers updated for you here. You can also click this export button if you just want to see it in Excel. So that's a quick look at the United States. Again, a couple of charts in the beginning, but then you can also look at by class and by scale if you wish. Now let's start diving into some markets. So again, 3 countries we're currently collecting data for. If you wanted to switch over to markets, so let's get a little bit more granular. So we have 230 markets total across the 3 countries. As I start putting some filters on, let's just focus on the United States today. In the United States, there are 167 markets, and then we can break those down into submarkets as well, and there's 889. So if we're looking at a market as a whole versus an airport area or a central business district, etc., you have that freedom and flexibility in CoStar to click and make a couple of those changes and see performance. So maybe we don't know exactly, for most of you, assuming that you're a destination, you know exactly where you're going to want to look. But if you're just looking at the total U.S. and you want to identify some top markets, for example, let's say that we know, on average, the total U.S. occupancy was, we saw 2.6. So let's say we want to look at kind of those leaders. So let's put a minimum of an 8%, 12-month moving occupancy percent change. Let's just see what happens. All right, so now we have 11 markets in the U.S. I'll scroll in a little bit. So now we have 11 markets that have met that threshold. I said I only want to see markets that have a minimum 8% occupancy increase over the last 12 months. Looks like they're kind of in a interesting V shape here. And then we got San Francisco and Oahu over here as well. So we've got New York, kind of the leader, Chicago, Washington, etc. I can move through to a couple of different views. So again, I can move through that list. It's going to automatically default an inventory. But let's say I wanted to sort them by 12-month ADR. All I have to do is click, and I can see that New York is receiving the highest ADR, followed by Oahu, San Francisco, etc. So quite a few different ways to look at that. Let's go back to our map and put an additional filter on. So I know that pipeline's decreasing. We just saw that are starting to slow down when we look at the total U.S. So I want to also look at markets that also have at least 1,000 rooms under construction. So yes, you're getting a high occupancy, but you also have a pretty large pipeline. All right, so now we have 3 markets: New York, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. So in my mind, these are 3 markets. They've already got a great occupancy increase steadily over the last 12 months, but they also have a big pipeline. So I'm going to keep my eye on these 3. Most people look at RevPAR as kind of that end-all be-all performance metric. So we know that the total U.S. Has a 10%, I think it was 10.33% RevPAR increase. So let's do 20 and kind of pull out the leaders there. Overall RevPAR, we have 8. So once again, New York, once again, Oahu, we got San Francisco, Boston, Vegas. So let's say I want to compare these. I can switch over. I can skip past my list. And I just want to compare the top 4. Let's do 5. We'll include Vegas. We'll hide our unselected. Maybe I just want to look at the last 3 years. So I can quickly create a really custom graph just for me. Looking at 3-year historical, I'm looking at a 1-year forecast. I can hover and I can see each of the months accordingly. So it looks like we had kind of a peak here on that 12-month moving. But maybe I want to look at seasonality. So let's just go to total ADR here. Now it looks like Nevada actually outranked Vegas when looking at the most recent month, because that's how it's just going to automatically sort. I'll let this load. Let me stop my video and get it to speed up a bit. There we go. So now we're looking at a 12-month moving, and now we're seeing all of this seasonality. So we can see when New York peaks in May and in December and September and all these historical months. So taking out that 12-month moving and seeing all of the seasonality, we can kind of see when our each of these top markets are spiking. I can also sort. Let's say I just want to look at the upper tier and see how my ADRs change. I imagine they're going to get a lot higher. So now my top markets look a lot different. A couple of similarities there. Still New York, the top. All right, so let's go back to our map view. So we looked at the total US. We started adding in some custom filters. You can also change this time series. So this is a 12-month moving RevPAR change on the current, but you can also do a 3-year, 5-year history if you want to look at a different time frame. So some of our common themes were in New York, DC, etc. We kind of showed you how to compare and even sort by the class. Let's take a look now at an individual market. So let's just pop in here to New York. Again, it's going to look I'm actually going to remove these class filters. It's going to look very similar to that total US page. You're going to have your hero stats up here. You're going to be able to understand, how much has that occupancy increased from the same time period a year ago. And for New York, it's 14%. RevPAR, 34%, which is why it fell into that 20% parameter that we implemented a moment ago. So again, as I scroll through, this is going to look very similar, but now instead of the market in a year over year, we're going to compare the market of New York compared to the total US. So we could always get a benchmark when looking in CoStar. So let's scroll. I'll, again, show you all these charts are going to look the same, but now we're just looking at them for a single market. So we can see really high deltas here in January for occupancy in New York. And New York is one of those markets that's really driving the US up. They've seen pretty steady occupancy increases month over month, but year over year. And then same with ADR and RevPAR. So you'll notice when we're looking at a market, I have this new tab here called submarkets. So I can do this on the main page as well, but if I'm just looking at a single market and I want to understand How is Uptown doing compared to Midtown West, Times Square, to Midtown South, etc.? I can go here. I can filter to my list view. I can sort based on my 12-month occupancy. So I can see that the Midtown South hotels are the fullest. I can see that my Uptown hotels are driving the highest rates over the last 12 months. And I can see that my Uptown hotels are also receiving the highest RevPAR. So this is kind of that Excel file view, if that's what you wish to see. I can also quickly compare these submarkets. So we were looking at markets in our comparison before, and then now we can look at just the submarkets within New York. Once again, if you don't like all the pre-built charts and graphs like I do, you can always filter into the data tab as well. All right, let's take a look back here. Now, when we look at inventory pipeline, we talked about that slowing, but we saw that New York kind of had the highest. So let's go ahead and dive into our property section. So when we dive into properties, it's going to be a very different view. Each one of these flags indicates an asset or a building. I can filter by property type. So again, we're going to focus on hospitality. Let's go ahead and get us into the Midtown West, Times Square area. And let's click on our hospitality property type. So each one of these flags, again, represents now a hospitality property or an asset. We have 144 properties in this submarket. From here, I can either scroll through them. I can navigate to the list view. I can just see my list of properties. Or I can open up this filter pane. And this filter pane is incredibly robust. I could sort by minimum, maximum number of rooms if I'm trying to drill down to that. I can look by class or by scale. I can also take a look at that pipeline. So if we want to pull under construction and final planning, now we're down to 6 properties. I want to go into this property here. It's an upscale hotel, so it kind of falls into that most popular building class of upscale and upper mid-scale. And we see here just quick details on the properties and final planning. So it's yet to start physical construction. It's supposed to have 401 rooms, and the upscale class is going to be chain managed. So on this summary page, you can see details like the year built. It's supposed to be completed by September of 25. They're supposed to start construction this month. We will let you know what the market conditions are. So proprietary, the data always remains proprietary, whether it's a Excel file from STR or whether it's in the dashboard from CoStar. So we can't tell you how the property is doing, but we can tell you how the submarket is doing compared to the market as a whole. So as we scroll through here, if there were any tenants in the property, let's say it's a hair salon or a coffee shop, at the bottom of this hotel, you would see that listed here. Any details on the loan. So if they had an active CMBS loan, you could see that data here. This contacts page is more robust than ever, thanks to CoStar and the research team that we have access to now. So we not only track the recorded owner, but the true owner, the hotel operator. The parent company is obviously IHG. And then in this case, we're going to track developer and architect as well. So if I want to go into Beach Point Capital, can actually go in and see what other properties they have. So it looks like they have hospitality, but also some office, flex space, etc. right, let's remove our filter here. So we were just looking in that small area. Now when I move my address filter, it's just going to pull in whatever my map view is seeing. So let's also remove under construction and final planning. And let's just look at existing and open and operating. And let's also add some additional filters here for fun. Let's say we want to look at properties, with a restaurant. All right, so now we're looking at my map view and we're looking at existing open and operating properties with a restaurant. And I could see that we have 246. And perhaps we want to narrow this down a little bit more. And I want to see any of these that are owned or that the parent company affiliation is Marriott and Hilton. So now I'm down to 71 properties. And let's say I just want to kind of look in this Garment District area, and we'll include Bryant Park. So now I've got 21 properties that I'm looking at. Let's do one more classification and let's look at kind of that middle tier. All right, now we're down to 15 properties. So what we did is we kind of looked to see where there was a lot of construction going on when we were in the markets. We saw that this was the submarket with the most rooms under construction in New York, which also had the highest number of rooms under construction. So now I'm looking at existing hotels in this area. I happen to be looking at Hilton and Marriott properties. I also happen to be looking at them with a restaurant. But then I picked those in that middle tier, which I know is where most of the rooms are being delivered. So this is a unique methodology that's only available in the CoStar platform. This is not the same as what you would purchase in an STR trend, but I can navigate to the analytics tab and you're going to see a pop-up. And what it's telling you is that this is called weighted submarket methodology. So basically each of the properties that I've selected, we're taking the given performance of the industry segment and weighting by its own room supply. So this is not the same as a trend or as a comp set, but we're taking those 15 properties that we selected, we're taking into consideration their size and their class, and then we're weighting them against that Midtown West Times Square submarket performance. So now I'm able to see performance on this weighted submarket comp set. You're going to notice that there is no forecast. Also, we only selected 2 classes, so you're not going to see all these other classes looped in here, but I can understand what that RevPAR percent changes, supply change, all those same metrics, as well as the data. So that's a unique methodology. I know a lot of our destination community, they want to get really granular, look at, a city, a county, a comp set. So until that methodology is implemented into CoStar, currently what we have is this weighted submarket methodology. I'm going to show you a few additional things. So we're going to remove our custom polygon. Going to remove our parent companies. Now we're just looking at existing. And as we start to go into our submarkets, let's see. So as I start to pull in the specific markets, I can also pull in specific cities as well. You can also save these searches. So if it's something that I quickly wanted to get to, you can see I have a couple of different ones saved here. Let's click on this one just for fun. So it looks like this was hospitality data in a very specific polygon. So if any new properties came into this search, I could do that here. All right, let's go back. Can also do a lot of different tools over here. So I showed you the polygon. You can also do a radial search. So if I wanted to do, let's say I'm a CVB in Nashville and I wanted to look at hotels that were in, let's say, 1.5 miles of the Bridgestone Arena. Wanted to see what the supply looked like. I know there's Taylor Swift coming in or what have you. And I know that I want to look at these 3 classes. And I want to put it on existing, open and operating. I also want to stay with a minimum of 200 rooms. So I can really quickly narrow down different property lists based on what I'm trying to figure out. So if this was something that I wanted to save, as a reminder, I have on 1.5 mile radius of the Bridgestone Arena, kind of in that middle tier property that's open and operating with more than 200 rooms. I could also, we have the meeting space square footage. Let's see, I passed it. Right here. So if I wanted to narrow down hotels with a certain amount of meeting space, I could do that as well. Then I can save this search. Well, it looks like this one, it's going to save a different search, but I could label this one whatever I wanted to. I can talk and show you all day long in this platform. I absolutely love it. I get lost in it. Just to speak on some enhancements that are coming, we will be implementing weekly data. So today, as far as the performance data that we looked at over here in this area, weekly data will eventually be added so that you can kind of sort by day of week, by, I know a lot of that's really important. You don't need monthly, you need daily, and that will be added as well, weekly and daily, as well as additional countries. New methodologies will be implemented in the property section, so hopefully just outside of the weighted submarket average as well, plus what you get over here in the markets and submarkets section. You already get access to by class and by scale. The forecast today is implemented for the total U.S., the top 25 markets, and by class and scale, but we will be working on forecast methodology for additional areas outside of that, including Michigan South and Rochester, etc. Yeah, so that's the gist of it. Lot of freedom and flexibility in the platform. A lot of additional searches that you're going to be able to do without having to come back and forth to your STR rep and add some things. It is all login based, so you have access anywhere that you have internet to this platform, and you can sort and filter as needed. So again, we looked in the market section for performance. We also looked in the property section, and that is the CoStar platform. I'm going to open this Q&A up if that's okay, and we can kind of jump into some additional questions and do additional searches if needed. I would encourage you, if you have not already worked with one of your STR reps, they're happy to show you this platform and see what that means specific to your destination. Again, it is all access. So whether you're in Seattle and interested in Chicago, you have freedom and flexibility to search not only in your area, but for competitive markets as well. All right. I will stop my share and I will open up this chat. Can you set up auto reports to a recipient email list? Great question. So, You cannot set up auto reports that will get emailed, but you absolutely can set up saved searches. So not just in the property section like I showed you, but actually in the, there's a data export functionality. So actually, I'll go ahead and show you this since we're on the topic and we have the time. All right, so we're back in, and I'm gonna click on markets. Yes, I want to start a new search. Let's try this again. All right, so back into performance, which is our market section. These are a couple of areas. So I really stayed mostly in this market submarket section, but I'll pull up this data export. And this is where you can build your own data file, basically. I'll show you one that I've already got built. These are all layouts that I've saved. This is my favorite one. It's the U.S. Hospitality Top 25 Forecast. So as I click on that, I've already built this. I've selected hospitality. If I wanted to include class or scale, I could. I've selected the United States, and then I have my top 25 markets. I also have my time period selected. So this is a great example of where we'll eventually be adding weekly data as well. But I've selected, when I run this report, I want to see 2022 to 2024. And then I have all of my KPIs I selected year to date. So I can click export. So without having to come in and set anything up, once new monthly data is processed, I can go in here quickly and just download my report. So to answer your question in a shorter way, no, it's not going to get automatically emailed to you, but yes, you can build your own report, have that template saved, and anytime that new data is uploaded, you can just come in here and export as needed. So what you're seeing now is that data export. All right, so let's see what else. I teach revenue management. How can I get access to this database for the sake of illustrating benchmark marketing reports? So, absolutely. If you want to sign up for CoStar, if you're not a hotel, if you're not a revenue manager for hotels, that situation is a little bit different. But in that case, I'm happy to work with you in conjunction with a CoStar rep. My focus is solely on hospitality. So that is where, again, 12 years at STR, I'm a hospitality data nerd for life. But with the CoStar platform, you do get access to everything. So oftentimes we like to coordinate with a CoStar rep. You will have a local rep in every single market, and we can do a demo for you and price out the subscription based on your business type. Okay, so another one, how do we access this site? Is it included in our destination subscription? So for now, until all of the data from STR is integrated into CoStar, what we're doing is we're migrating clients into the platform, getting you access, getting you familiar with it, plus all the additional data that you're probably not receiving and could benefit from. And then we're leaving your legacy reports on. So again, that would be a case-by-case scenario for each individual person. Yes, absolutely. In some cases, you would need to continue your destination subscription, but you can work with your STR sales rep to determine what that looks like. And then is this a separate fee beyond our current contract? Yes, it is likely separate unless you are already a CoStar subscriber. If you are already a CoStar subscriber, you already have access to the hospitality asset type. But if you are only subscribing to STR, we would have to migrate you over. But again, that's kind of the conversation that we're having, and it is on a case by case, but absolutely happy to have that conversation with you. Sorry, I can start my video back, answer live. Any other questions or thoughts? I know I zoomed through that. As I mentioned, there's so much data in the platform. There's so many things that we could show you. It is really user-friendly and intuitive. However, it does come with a lot of different training, not only in, virtually from us, but then also CoStar has a lot of video tutorials, a lot of trainings. I like to watch them for the other asset classes. And again, more and more enhancements coming from STR, both in scope geographically as well as frequency. Another question popped through about international data. So in the property section, so inventory, pipeline, that is all available globally. So whether we're looking at Atlanta properties in the pipeline or Saudi Arabia properties in the pipeline, you can look at that data for existing and pipeline hotels. For the performance KPIs that we were looking at in the market section, that is only US, UK, and Canada as of today. Again, that'll be a future enhancement when we continue integrating that global data. If we have a lot of custom segmentation, will this be migrated over? It depends. We are working on some additional methodologies. We are not cutting anyone off of their custom segments. So oftentimes this is in addition to, until some of those methodologies are figured out. But again, the majority of our clients right now, they're keeping on their custom segments. Some segments CoStar will make whole, so you won't have to get all of those. If it's anything with weekly data, if it's a comp set of properties, you'll probably want to keep that on until that is integrated into CoStar. But eventually, the plan is for CoStar to be a holistic solution. Looks like no more questions are popping through. Please feel free. My email is my first letter, my first name, E, and then my last name, Kirby. If I am not the right person, then I'll be happy to pass you along. So my email is ekirby@str.com. I'll type that in the chat as well. But please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to set up a demo. Like I said, it may not be me, but I will be happy to get you in the right hands. And each person's needs are unique. We understand that. When you're on live a demo with us, maybe you don't care about New York, maybe you want to look in your area, so we can kind of tailor that custom to you, answer all your questions. Again, we appreciate the time. Your sales reps are more than happy to take additional time, answer additional questions. But we are very, very excited about the STR data being in the CoStar platform, being at your fingertips, updated in real time, and allowing you for some of that customization.